We can't take care of daycare. We're a big country. We have 50 states. We have all these other people. We're fighting wars. We can't take care of daycare. You got to let a state take care of daycare, and they should pay for it, too. They should pay. They have to raise their taxes, but they should pay for it. And we could lower our taxes a little bit to them to make up. But it's not possible for us to take care of daycare. Medicaid, Medicare, all these individual things, they can do it on a state basis. You can't do it on a federal. We have to take care of one thing, military protection. We have to guard the country.
I mean, just that entire picture, right? I mean, if you look at that whole thing, my favorite part is that's the Easter celebration. That was the Easter celebration yesterday or 2 days ago in the White House. Easter. And the president of the United States, what's supposed to be they had all the religious people there. He's basically saying, hey, look, we just got to do war, man. We got war. War's our jam. We're going to do war. It's the funniest part of that. Well, there's a million funny parts, is that Carolyn Levitt's been working her ass off trying to roll that back, that, the liberal media and everybody's misinterpreting what he said. He said, it's the fraud. No, we got eyes, we can see. Okay. What he's saying is he doesn't want to pay for people who in need. He doesn't want to pay for people who need health care. He doesn't want to pay for any of that. He wants to just do war. The no wars guy wants to just do war. And that's where we are, folks. We're 5 weeks into a war, which these clowns refuse to call a war. And here we are trying to cut benefit. I mean, I don't know if you saw, but this week they also announced that the head of the finance committee for the House, Republicans, says we should cut health care to pay the $200 billion tab for the war that's not a war. That's what we face. But we got a lot to talk about in this show. Obviously, this has been a crazy week. We talked about stealing the election last week. I wanted to get back to talk about how all this plays into the current moment for the perspective of a veteran and a service member. You know, as you guys know, of course, I served and I guess did too. And this is the clown they have running the war that's not a war. Now, I want you to show this video. And when I watch this video, one, there are the words he's talking about, which are shocking. But two, just look at this video. This came out yesterday.
Our great republic was founded on a simple yet bold idea. Our rights as citizens are not granted to us by government, but instead by God. 250 years ago, the Revolutionary War was fought to secure our God-given rights. The Second Amendment to our Constitution enshrines the right of all citizens to carry weapons to protect themselves, their families, and their fellow countrymen. The War Department's uniformed service members are trained at the highest and unwavering standards. These warfighters, entrusted with the safety of our nation, are no less entitled to exercise their God-given right to keep and bear arms than any other American. Our warfighters defend the right of others to carry. They should be able to carry themselves. Recent events like what happened.
Okay, so first of all, there you have it, folks. A gun is a God-given right. That's what, I don't know if you noticed it in the 10 Commandments. That must be, if you saw the History of the World Part 1, remember there was 20 commandments, but one broke. The 10 Commandments, I guess in the second part of the 10 Commandments is the God gave you guns. I don't remember that part of the Bible, but in the Pete Hegseth Bible, there's guns. The other part is, do you notice at the end, it's a 2-camera shoot. So the Secretary of Defense is doing 2-camera makeup, casual, no jacket videos in his office in the Pentagon during a war. Okay. There's an estimated 10 to 50,000 troops deploying in the Middle East, possibly to invade Iran. There's thousands of sorties being flown. And the Secretary of Defense doesn't have time to worry about that. He doesn't have time to go and talk to the troops. Briefly, he did apparently. But he does have time to do 2-camera shoots in his office about guns. Now, we're going to talk about the guns part of that with our guests because there's a history there. But that's what we're doing. And then this clownery during his press conference.
I did the same with his boss, a colonel with a heart the size of Texas and a beautiful deployment mustache to match. I witnessed lethality. I met a junior airman as the sun was going down and a chill was setting on the tarmac, who, when asked what they needed, she simply looked up at me, with a sly smile on her face and said, "More bombs, sir, and bigger bombs."
I can't take any more of that bullshit. That didn't happen. And the beautiful deployment. What is this? What is this clownery that has become the Secretary of Defense's office and the Secretary of Defense? And this hides the really dirty stuff, because this week we found about this too, where this son of a gun fired the Chief of Staff of the Army. And the reason he fired the Chief of Staff of the Army, we now know, was because they pushed back. He and the Secretary of the Army pushed back on the fact that the Secretary of Defense has now decided who gets promoted and who doesn't. And more it's become patently clear the people that get promoted are doing it only if they're white Christians. He has blocked promotions for women. He has blocked promotion for black officers. He has blocked promotions for anyone associated with the former Chief of Staff of the Army, General Milley. He has blocked promotions. He thinks he is a sole arbiter for the promotion of our professional military corps, a sacrosanct system that has lasted for years and is imperfect in many ways. I'm first to tell you that. I was lieutenant colonel in the Army, but I'll tell you this: it behooves the military to have it done by themselves and not have a civilian who can reach in and touch them whenever he freaking feels like it, because that's where we're at right now. And it's outrageous. And that's before we talk about this bullshit. Yeah, that's the video of the Apaches who flew over the demonstrations in Nashville multiple times and then flew to Kid Rock's house on the side of a mountain to hover in front of his house. See, folks, I used to fly those things, okay? At guess where? Fort Campbell. And everything you saw in those videos from that day is illegal operations of a military aircraft without authorization. And when the Army, the young company commander, probably a captain of the United States Army, made the decision, the right decision, at probably at the behest of his own instructor pilots to investigate, this is what the Secretary of Defense did. He tweeted out that there's no suspension, there's no punishment, on top of a statement from Kid Rock saying the shit for brains governor California. This is the crap that be the Secretary of Defense. And meanwhile, our service members are downrange. And as we speak, as we record this show, I'm getting news alerts blowing up on my phone that there looks like there may have been an F-15 Eagle shot down over Iran right now, and that rescue operation unfolding. As we speak, there's videos coming out of Iran showing our rescue aircraft frantically looking across southern Iran for a downed pilot. There's video of an ejection seat in the ground. So as we speak, as the Secretary of Defense is doing 2 camera shoots in his office, we are frantically looking for missing United States Air Force members. And that's why I'm angry. And that's why I've got a great guest to talk about all this, because here on Democracy, you guys know we talk about the issues that matter and the issues that count. I'm glad to have you here with us. As you know, I'm Fred Wellman. This is On Democracy with FP Wellman on the Midas Touch Network. As you know, I never know which side I'm pointing at, but here it is. It's over here. Let's go on. I'm glad to have you on the Midas Touch Network. Glad to have you. Our guest, Naveed Shah, is a great friend, one of the OGs of the show. So let's go on this show. Satchel, let's roll the show. Welcome. I am Fred Wellman. I am organized as always. You guys know that. It is so good to see you guys again here Friday night. We're live on the My Touch Network, as you know, every Saturday night or Friday night at 7. My God, Satchel, we may have to start over again. It is so good to be with you guys. We have got a great show. Obviously, we got a lot to talk about. Okay, this has been an insane week. You saw that's just a bite. That's just a taste of it all that's gone on. We have so much more to listen to. My friend Naveed Shah. Naveed is an Army veteran like myself. He's a combat veteran, and more important, he's the political director of Common Defense. He can tell you about that. Naveed, let's get you on the show, brother.
Hey,
welcome,
Fred,
brother. It's good. Well, good morning. Good morning. I know you got a lot going on. It is morning here. We're recording in the morning, as people know. It's great to see you, my brother. So Naveed was on the show November of 2022. That's how long this show's been around. My God, you're an OG. It's been too long since you're back on. Naveed, man, what do you think of all the stuff we ran at the beginning? It's insane, isn't it?
Oh man, where do we even start? You know,
I know.
this been Fred. I took this week off. by the way. So I'm just getting back to the office. I'm finding out you guys did
should have
what while I
drank.
was gone.
How'd that work out?
Huge mistake on my part.
Yeah.
Thinking I could take a break. We're seeing this Secretary of Defense is just. I mean, the things that he's focused on, the things that he's used his 2 cameras in his office to make videos about so far during this war, the past month,
Right.
talking about the chaplains and the Boy Scouts, and now, bringing guns back to the barracks. Those are the things that the Secretary of Defense is focused on while our
Right.
country is at war, like major military operations or an excursion or whatever they're calling it now.
Right. Right. I mean, we say it's an illegal war, and a lot of people give us crap about it when we say that, but it really is at this point. We are now approaching the statutory limit, even for the War Powers Act. Even if you could, and the War Powers Act, the WPA doesn't apply here because we were not attacked. As much as they're trying to spin it, the president can't just launch a war, right? I mean, that's the simple fact. And now we're in the 5th week of a war. I mean, I'm sure the F-15 pilots, which I hope and pray is not true, but every evidence I'm seeing on the internet tells me we are frantically looking for some down pilots. They're well aware this is a war, isn't it?
Yeah, they definitely are, and that's another thing that the Secretary of Defense has done during this war. He's said things like no quarter will be given, and now when you have a downed pilot behind enemy
Right.
lines,
I didn't even think of that.
the enemy has no reason to treat them humanely if they find them, because we've already told them, if we find your pilots, we're going to give them no quarter, which means, I think a lot of it, we don't have to say it, like we know what that means, and if that's what the message is, that's putting our troops in further danger. So,
And that's the point, right? That we were taught that as I was a young officer, you were a soldier. We were taught the reason we don't do that, the reason we follow Geneva Conventions, the reason we follow laws of war, the reason we follow rules of engagement is just this scenario, isn't it? I mean, it's kind of sad and shocking that we are facing this scenario that we all experts and veterans have been saying all along, that the point of us following the rules is that our enemy is forced then to follow the rules as well. When you walk away from the rules, then everybody does. And so now we very well they could torture our men and our women, they could do whatever they want, because we said we have no. Just yesterday, we bombed a bridge in broad daylight with civilians on it. I mean, I'm not sure the people there. I mean, I just saw a clip before we went on live of Iran TV saying that the Bedouin tribe should hunt these men down and shoot them. I mean, and we'll probably try to cry about it, but we set this up, didn't we?
yeah, that's the devastating part. Is it seems like this administration, from the president on down, is not thinking about the consequences of their actions, and they're putting our service members and our military families into this impossible situation. Like, how, as a service member, can you know you're drilled in the Geneva Conventions and the rules of engagement and all these things, and now to turn around and hear your Secretary of Defense say no quarter, and you're seeing like these Instagram or TikTok clips that they're making, like these, I forgot what you're calling them, like highlight reels almost.
Yeah, hype reels.
Yeah, hype reels, and it's like, that's sickening. It's sick. Like, there's no way that's what our government should be putting out.
And it's not the American way of war. We are taught to be professionals. I mean, I know people, obviously we can argue all day about mistakes that have been made and people that didn't uphold our values, but we have tried to punish those who don't uphold the values. In this case, let's circle back to that Apache video. That was clearly a violation of FAA regulations, clearly a violation of Army regulations. I've seen people argue on social media. No, look, I flew helicopters for my entire career. Okay, I know the rule. I flew them at Fort Campbell. You don't fly over the city. There's no air routes that go over the city itself. So there were not all the lies saying that was legal. That air crew did that themselves. They knew where Kid Rock's house was. They decided to hover. They violated. And when that young company commander, a captain, decided to do the right thing by regulation and suspend that crew, and look, they may have gotten off. Who knows? But to have the Secretary of Defense himself reach all the way from the Pentagon, what does that do to command and control of our military? What does that tell our young troops, our young pilots right now, that what their rules really are? It undermines all of it, doesn't it?
Yeah, undermines everything, from leadership to morale amongst the ranks. And we know for a fact that if this wasn't Kid Rock's house, if this was, say, I don't know, Gavin Newsom's house or something,
Gavin Newsom's house, yeah,
right? Anyone else, would that be the same outcome, or would these folks be suspended by the Secretary of Defense because he doesn't agree with their politics? When you have,
I mean, we see it, right? The point, right?
That's right.
Thank you,
No,
Kid Rock. Carry on, Patriots. I mean, he's telling us exactly the reason. And look at the tweet. This shit for brains. I mean, exactly. You get it right there.
no punishment, no investigation. Like that's what you're saying is do whatever you want, and as long as you're on the right political side, you're fine. And that goes against everything that the military has always stood for. Being a apolitical organization.
I've never seen anything like it. I joined the Army in 1983, technically, when I raised my right hand. Jesus, I'm old. Don't do the math, folks. Don't do the math. But I was 17 years old. I raised my right hand. The plane of West. I talk about it often lately in my other job. I'm hot as hell. People are dropping out right and left because it's like 98 degrees in New York on July 4th. But that's the first time I raised my right hand. Is where an oath to the Constitution, not the commander in chief, not to the president, not to a political party. I think Ronald Reagan was the president then, for God's sake, and no one ever asked me to do what the president wanted. I didn't even know. It's funny, as I look through my career, I try to remember who the president was at various times in my career, and it wasn't clear because that wasn't my mission. Was for a specific president. My mission was for the United States government. I've never seen such politicization since that time, and you can argue all day. You'll see people argue, well, George, but no, none of them did this, did they?
No, that's the thing. I joined under the Bush administration, so
Yeah.
when I joined, and I didn't even give it a second thought because it's funny nowadays. I look back and I'm like, I miss George W. Bush. Compared
Right?
to what we've got, I
I
take George
know.
W.
Where
Bush
are we
any day.
at? I
Yeah,
know.
it's
Well, at least
rough.
he cared. I mean, you have to say one thing about Bush. He did care, at least. He did feel something I talk about on my last speech I've been giving lately is that mantle of leadership, the burden of leadership. And I think if you look at what George W. Bush has done since he left office with painting the portraits of wounded warriors and fallen, the Bush Institute, say what you will about all those things. There's plenty to argue about. I'm never going to get into that right now. But I think he felt it. I don't think any of these guys feel a damn thing, do they?
No, that's the thing. The way they're treating Gold Star families, they're saying Gold Star families want us to finish the job. We know there was at least one report I've seen where a Gold Star family was like, we didn't say that to him.
Any
I
of
don't know
that.
where you got that from.
Right. It's a lie. Well, and that goes back to, the story back. If you want to go back to Trump 1, the first time he went to Dover, the mission he launched for the Navy SEALs going to Yemen that Obama had said no to. And sure enough, SEAL got killed. The father would shoot his ass. And he skipped Dover 2 years. For 2 years, he skipped going to Dover because he didn't want to talk to the families. It's just lie after lie. Let's also circle to this idea of the no plan. I mean, it feels like they're just scrambling to come up with a plan. We were 5 weeks in a war. We're 5 weeks. You saw that clip of Hegseth, sir, I need more bombs. And I mean, this Hadji, I mean, he flew in, flew out. We now find out our troops are living in hotels because the bases have become too dangerous, which also, by the way, folks, is a violation of the laws of war because housing troops among civilians endangers civilians. So if a hotel gets hit in downtown Bahrain because our troops are there and civilians get killed, that's a violation of the Geneva Convention. So we are at a point where they're not even playing by any rules anymore, are they?
Yeah, that's another really scary part about this war is that it seems like we're not getting accurate information from this administration, from the White House, from the Pentagon. I've seen reports that say that the number of U.S. casualties has not been accurately reported. I don't know what the actual numbers are, and that's scary. If you remember back during the Iraq War, I think it was some civilian who started like the IraqCasualties.org website and like started tracking it himself because we couldn't get good information. That's just a hallmark that things aren't going well for us if we're not getting.
Well, I was a spokesman for the Army. My last job was I was a public affairs officer, and we were trained in school day one, and I did that during the war. After we came back from Iraq One, Petraeus asked me to be a spokesman. I went to the schoolhouse. We were taught that one of the most sacred duties we have is to report casualties, and we have it by law. We actually have a timeline we have to do it within, and it feels like they've completely walked away from that duty to the American people. Literally, the regulation states that we have to accurately report information to the American people rapidly, maximum information, minimum delay. That was literally our byline in the military public affairs: maximum information, minimum delay. And we got the exact opposite now. We got lie, delay. And they're trying to cover things up. They tried to cover up the bombing of the girls' school. They're definitely covering, I'll say it right here, and it might get me in trouble. They're covering up what happened at that command post in Kuwait, because that command post got hit from above with just T-walls, And I can't imagine how many we've heard numbers as high as 60 or 70 serious injuries because they didn't protect from an Iranian drone. What's a crime about that is they don't want to admit that after watching Ukraine fight Iranian drones for at least the last 3 years, we had not prepared our troops for Iranian drones when we went to war with Iran. I mean, it's shocking, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean that another way that this administration, like, it reminds me of Iraq so much. We went into Iraq and we sent our troops in without the proper armor, without the proper equipment. Troops were trying to weld, steel plates to their Humvees while they were there, and wearing whatever they could as body
I
armor.
did it.
It feels like we're back at square one with that.
Yeah, I'm one of those troops. We did that. We went in Sawskin vehicles. I remember when we did the deployment from south of Baghdad to Iskandariya. I drove Sawskin vehicles to Mosul on Saddam's birthday, and we ran into a bunch of Baathists shooting at us. And the only thing I could do was accelerate. We were not. It's like just press the gas, get out of here. It's like we started doing that ridiculous stuff, and here we are again. 25 years later, 23 years later, and here we are, an unprepared for a war that we could have avoided. We did not need to launch. And here we are. I want to talk about the VA too. So, I mean, the great about a guest like Naveed Shah, you guys, is we talk about a lot of things, but we have great sponsors as always. So let's take a short sponsor break. Stick it with us, folks. We got a lot to talk about. Of course, we got great sponsors. That's how we pay for the show. So let's talk to our sponsors. Come back. We talk more with my friend Naveed Shah. I think a lot of you know my life story. I did, of course, tragically lose my wife and child in a car accident in 1994. But one of the things that was key to my recovery and being able to move on with my life and kind of keep going was the financial security of having life insurance at the time. It wasn't a lot, but it was very important to me for me to be able to have that safety after losing so much. And I've seen friends lose loved ones that didn't have life insurance and how hard their lives become. So you owe it to your family to think about that and to get life insurance. And I got a great sponsor. Ethos is a great place to find the life insurance you need. Ethos make getting life insurance fast. They make it easy. It's 100% online, and you can get a quote in just seconds. You can apply in minutes, and you can get same-day coverage. There's no medical exam. You just answer a few simple health questions. And through Ethos, you can get up to $3 million of coverage, and some policies are as low as $30 a month. And Ethos has a 4.8 out of 5 stars on Trustpilot with over 3,000 reviews. So help protect your family with life insurance through Ethos. Get your instant free quote at ethos.com/Fred. That is ethos.com/Fred. Application times and rates may vary. Again, you go to ethos.com/Fred. Thanks. I cannot tell you how crazy my life is these days. I mean, if you follow me, that I've got a lot on my plate right now. My mornings are my quiet time. I catch up on the insanity online. I prep for what is going to be definitely a long day. And that's how I started. But I usually started by downing a lot of coffee and then going on that caffeine ride up and down all day. But I have to be honest that getting introduced to mud water has really been amazing for me. I got the new low calf coffee to replace my usual cup. And honestly, it's amazing. It's been a smooth transition and a much healthier alternative for me. The coffee version is made with organic Arabica coffee beans. It's L-theanine, the same functional mushrooms you get in their other blends like lion's mane, cordyceps, and reishi. It's rich, it's smooth, and only 45 milligrams of caffeine. So you get the flavor you love without the jitters, crash, or the spiraling thoughts that kind of make your day crazier. So whether you're a long-time drinker of mud water with the original blend or you're easing into something gentler than your usual brew, mud water really makes it ridiculously easy to start the day feeling good. And I'm really enjoying it. I mean, you can even get it now conveniently. So you can get it at Target and Sprouts. They're carrying it nationwide. So it makes your mornings just easier than ever. So I recommend it. If you're ready to make the switch to cleaner energy, head to mudwater.com and grab your starter kit today. Right now, our listeners get an exclusive deal up to 43% off starter kits plus free shipping and a free rechargeable frother when you use code FRED. That's right, up to 43% off with code FRED at mudwtr.com. And after purchase, they'll ask you how you found them. Please show your support and let them know we sent you at Ontomoxy with FP Wellman. Honestly, I love this stuff. I've been drinking it for a week now. It's really been a game changer. Thanks, Mudwater, for sponsoring our show. And we're back. So, Naveed, oh my God. So that on top of all that, we've also got the situation with this. So I didn't talk about the opening, but as you know, Doug Collins, for those who understand, Secretary Doug Collins is the VA. many of us have been screaming for a while, or veterans advocates, that the VA is being dismantled in many ways. This week, the big headline news was something that we predicted, right, Naveed? And that is this: that so folks, about a year ago, they decided to kill a thing called a VA home protection system called VASP, that was to help veterans who had been hurt by the pandemic to extend their loans. And experts told the VA that if they killed this program without a replacement, veterans would lose their homes. And now they are doing it. Quill Lawrence, of course, and Chris Arnold from NPR caught the story this week. And here's the shocking chart that goes with it. That is foreclosures on, I mean, I see you shaking your head, Naveed. Folks, for what you're seeing there, 10,000 veterans appear to have lost their homes, have been foreclosed on, and made homeless, because Secretary Collins and the VA decide to end the VA program that helped them stay in their homes. That's right. The VA itself has made 10,000 veterans homeless because they decided to reenact foreclosures, even as the mortgage industry told them it would cause problems. The mortgage industry tried to stop this, and they left veterans on the streets. Naveed, are you guys looking at this?
Yeah, I mean, this is just another example of how this administration is on one side sending our troops into harm's way in another Middle East conflict, and before that it was Venezuela and whatever else they've been up to, and on the backside they're gutting the Veterans Administration, the system that we use to provide benefits for our troops. And it's really, we call them benefits. It's really not. It's more like workers' comp, right? Like you
Right.
earn after serving in dangerous areas for your entire career. And this VA home loan thing is a perfect like microcosm of that. Like veterans served, and there was a program designed to ensure that their VA home loans, which are guaranteed by the government, don't go into foreclosure, that they get on a payment program so they don't lose their house. If we want to end veteran homelessness, this might be one way to do that. And instead, the administration decided to cancel the program entirely without a plan in place, without a backup option. I think there's a legislative fix that it might be months away at best, and we're seeing thousands of veterans out and their families being put out.
It's money. I mean, they flat out said they canceled it. No, it's too expensive. We want to do it. And that says everything, doesn't it? It says that the message is very clear. This administration sees veterans as a cost, not as while they lie to the camera and they say how much they love us. It's like the old joke, right? See where they spend their money. And they flat out said when they announced this kill, Doug Collins said it's too expensive. We are nothing but a line item to them, aren't we?
Yeah, exactly. And what they're saying here to us clearly is like, we don't care about the troops. We don't care about the veterans. And for everybody who was saying things about, we need to take care of our troops first before we worry about migrants or immigrants or anything else, they don't care about us either. So just don't fall for that rhetoric. It's not true. Yeah.
Yep, that's it right there. I mean, that's a perfect encapsulation. I mean, I can't open my social media without seeing one of those memes like, when we have homeless veterans, how dare us take of immigrants? Well, we're kicking immigrants out. Also, immigrants who serve, by the way, which we can talk about too. But they're also kicking veterans out of their homes because it was just too expensive. And I don't want to hear any more of this crap. I don't want to see. I'm gonna just post that story every damn time one of those idiots shows up in my social media saying, "Oh, you don't care about veterans." No, I do care about veterans because I'm one of them. Me and my friends like you, Naveed, have dedicated our lives to helping our fellow veterans. And the fact is, this administration just sees us as a burden. We're simply a burden to them, aren't we?
Yeah. Yeah. It definitely feels like again, goes back to Iraq, right? Like we sent our troops in all that time ago, and when they came home, there was no real plan for how to take care of them. We had to fight hard to get the post 9/11 GI Bill. We had to fight hard to get all the things that we were able to secure, including, by the way, the PACT Act that was finally passed in 2022. Only took 12 years after I got home from Iraq to get that through. And now here we are, and it feels like these veterans who are coming back from another war in the Middle East are gonna have to fight all over again for the same crumbs that they were getting, that they should be getting.
It's just a constant battle. I mean, it's I've never seen like it. Like you, I entered into being a veteran. I retired in 2010. I became a veterans advocate immediately. And what we got to show for it? It feels like in a lot of ways we're back at square one, and it just took a year to do, didn't it?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the PACT Act took us, over a decade to get through. Like one of the things that we talk about in DC is it's a slow boring of hard boards. It definitely
It
wasn't
is.
easy. Thanks to John Stewart and folks like him coming down and helping us get that passed. And now, less than 3 years later, they're trying to gut the very systems that we had fought so hard for and make it harder for veterans to get access to the care that they earned and need.
Yeah, and it's become more and more clear too that there is a type that they want only certain veterans, right? Let's be very honest. They don't look like us, or they actually, let's be honest, they look like me. I mean, I should say it that way. They are very, Pete Hegseth has become obviously infusing our military and now our VA with this Christianity. Doug Collins was a pastor, for God's sake, in the military. There's clearly a thread of white Christian nationalism that goes through all this, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the scariest part, I think, is one of the reasons when you join the military is that everybody in the army you drop all,
Right,
whoever you were outside, everyone's green. That was we used to
right.
say, right?
We used to
And
believe
now
that. Yeah.
they're stripping that away too. They're saying, no, no, we're gonna instead of saying trying to get rid of DEI, they're using that as a measure of who's gonna get promoted or not.
Right. And that's what the clearly going back to that very first story with what these firings were about were the actual color of these things. This story by NBC is incredible because it goes into great depth about how they're specifically targeting black and all the services that Pete Hegseth has intervened in promotions in every single service. At the same time, you had the same thing going on at VA. I mean, Doug Collins has terrorized the staff. There's clearly a infusion. He's actually, are you following the idea that he's trying to infuse religion into the suicide prevention program too, isn't he? I mean, he's trying to get religious people to take over the suicide prevention, isn't he?
Yeah, and that's the thing is again what chaplains do really well in the military. That one of the best chaplains I ever had is that he would start every if he did a prayer or anything like that with us, he would say, "I'm gonna pray to my God and you pray to yours." And if I
Yeah.
went to him to talk to him about anything that was going on in my life, he never pushed religion. He offered counseling as a mentor, as an advisor, as someone who spent time thinking about these things and how best to help the troops. He never pushed. It was never about pushing religion. It was about giving you a outlet that was outside of your chain of command for support, and that's a chaplains at their best. That's what they do. For them, for this this administration now to be pushing so hard on the religious aspect is concerning because we're supposed to have a separation of church and state here.
Right.
By the way, so
Yep.
that's just yeah.
That's it. I mean, I lived that myself. When if you know my life story, I lost my first wife in a car accident at Fort Campbell when she was 7.5 months pregnant. And at the time, we were Saddam had gathered his troops on the border of Kuwait again in 1994, October 1994. Many people forgot that. And we geared up to deploy. And instead, my battalion commander at the time, which is a story over a beer, said, well, no, we're going to the field. So just 10 days after my first wife was killed, I ended up in the field with my troops, my command, for 20 days. And I tell the story often of my chaplain who probably saved my life. I mean, I don't say that lightly, that I was his personal charge. I mean, he would check on me every night. We would sit around, we build a fire, because we could, and we'd sit around the fire with some of my peers and we would talk. And I swear to God, Naveed, it's been many years, 30 years. But I'll tell you this, for the life of me, I couldn't tell you what religion he was, right? I couldn't tell you what denomination of Christian he was. I have no idea. I was a Catholic at that time. I could not tell you what my chaplain's religion was, but I do know this: it didn't matter. He was there for me at a very difficult time. He knew that he had a soldier who was in trouble because he had just lost his wife and child and was being forced to serve, continued, and duty called. But he spent his time dedicated to helping me survive that. And be forever grateful for that. But I don't remember ever talking about religion, you know?
Yeah. Yeah,
And I think we're in
exactly.
a very dangerous place. And then the other thing we got to obviously, it is apparent to me they're dismantling the VA. I mean, is there any other way to put it than that, Naveed?
No, I mean that's the thing that's bothering me the most about this is that just a few years ago we expanded the PACT Act, we expanded access to better care for a whole range of veterans, and the thing that people civilians who are listening, I want you all to understand is that I personally know 3 veterans who are young in their 30s and 40s and early 50s, who are coming down with the types of cancers that young people don't get. Right? My boss was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. He talks about that and how quickly that came about. I know I have a couple other friends who were in their 30s. One who came down with a bone cancer, sarcoma. Another one who has breast cancer. You know, these are young folks. What do they have in common? They served in the military in places that they might have been exposed to toxins, either in the air or in the water or on the ground where they lived and slept every day, and now they're suffering from these deadly diseases. And instead of taking care of them, this administration is trying to find ways to kick them off of the healthcare that they desperately need and have earned through their service. It's a really, really just devastating way to treat troops. And now you're starting a war, and you're upping the enlistment age to 42 and saying, "Oh,
Right.
come on in."
Nothing
Wonder
said
why people aren't
everything's
joining.
going great, like upping the age, right?
Yeah. I wonder why people aren't joining right now. It might be because they see the way you're treating veterans. They're like, why would I go risk everything to
There
do
you
that?
go. That's it right there. I have to let you go. I know you got a lot going on. You squeezed us in. I appreciate it. Tell us about common defense. I'd be criminal if I didn't talk about common defense, what you guys are doing, the fight you guys are in. Tell our viewers if they're not familiar with common defense, they should be. Tell us about common defense, what you guys are up to these days.
Absolutely. Common Defense has been Veterans Against Trump since day one, and here we are 10 years later going strong. You can check us out at commondefense.us. We just participated in the No Kings marches across the country. Tons of our members were out there and speaking and marching and rallying with everybody. So we would love for you to come join us. We got more things cooking. Commondefense.us. Check us out.
Perfect. Well, you guys have a great day. Thanks for taking time out of your vacation week to do that. And we didn't even talk about the gun stuff because there's so. I mean, honestly, you and I could talk for an hour and a half, and it would never get
Yeah.
over because there's so much to talk about,
Awesome.
my friend. I'll probably pick that up in the outro. But Naveed, thank you for taking time to join
Thanks,
us.
Fred.
I know the audience, and I always appreciate as a friend too. So thanks. Good seeing you, my brother. I could talk to Naveed all day because he's a friend and a colleague who has helped me so much and mentored me so much. And I will go back to that conversation at the end here. Actually, Naveed and I first connected in, oh gosh, it's been 8 years probably, when we were brought together by our friend Naveed Jamali, the other Naveed, and to talk about the fact that we were worried about gun violence. We were worried about the idea that the rules we put in place for service members to have access to weapons are common sense. And I'll give you an example when I talk about folks. And people, I actually had somebody give me trouble about the current common sense gun rules. I'll tell you what I mean by common sense. When I joined the military, to get in, you have a clearance. You have to get a clearance, background check to get your secret clearance. That's the basic. Most service members get a secret. And I was an officer, so I had to. So that they do a background check to make sure I don't have a criminal record. I haven't had any Nazi tattoos or anything like that. And that's what you do to get in. And then so there's a background check before you join the military. And then you're trained on weapons before you ever touch a live weapon. You have training with a dummy weapon. You have training, even a simulator before you get a live weapon. And then you get a weapon. The weapons are stored in a secure facility under lock and key, multiple lock and key, actually. The ammunition is actually stored separately from the weapons for safety reasons. They don't blow up. And then you have a card and you get your weapon, you check it out. You only take it out to use it for training. And during that training, you're under close supervision of a guide. There are rules and regulations in place that if I make a mistake with that weapon or someone gets hurt or killed, that I could be prosecuted under UCMJ or otherwise other punishments for mishandling my weapon. When I'm done with my weapon, it's back under lock and key and separate from me in case I'm having trouble. Maybe I had a bad day. My girl from home left me. She went with Jody. It's a joke in the military about Jody taking your girl. And so maybe I don't have access to a weapon. We know for a fact that 75% of suicides for veterans and military members are done by firearm. It's far away the number one killer of our veterans and military service members are guns. Guns kill military people, not just the service, right? Not in combat, at home. And we know too that we just got studies that a study once showed that if a veteran or someone or anyone is suicidal, and they want to use a weapon to do it, if that weapon is under lock and key and the ammunition is stored separately, the delay that it takes to seek out that person's weapon to kill themselves, the time it takes to do that sidelines their suicide ideation 50% of the time. Think about that number. That's 35 to 50%. Meaning that just as they say, hey, I'm going to do it, I had to find the key, I had to find the weapon, I had to find the ammo, that process to do it oftentimes allows intervention by someone else that loves them, or their brain to go a different direction, or something to end that process. So just locking weapons up saves lives in a million ways. That's before we talk about keeping them from your children, keeping them from being stolen by criminals, keeping them from being used against yourself. Okay. All those things. That's common sense gun regulation. And now Pete Hegseth is going to allow. That video at the beginning was about guns, that he feels like our service members should have access to guns 24. They should be able to carry their personal weapon. God knows what that weapon might be. It's not regulated, to work. And I'm going to tell you a little secret about our service members. We are very, very tough people. And tough people sometimes get disagree. They have fights. They have disagreements. You get in barracks fights. Jody got your girl. Your roommate's a jerk, just like every other human being. And Pete Hegseth wants you to believe that our service members are infallible, that our service members are above you. Our service members are better than you, that they live a better life. They're superhuman. They're highly trained and disciplined. But I've got bad news for you. They're actually humans. You know, when I was a young cadet at West Point in 1983, one of the very first things we were taught was the military science 101. And they teach you is that an all volunteer military is a direct reflection of the society it represents. And what that means is, folks, and any military, is our military is you. Our military is your kids. Okay. That's it. For 18 years, you raise them, and then they go into the military, and I train them for 8 to 12 weeks. I maybe get them in a unit, but in the end, they're just your kids. And some kids are good. Some kids are bad. Some kids are racist. Some kids are not. Some kids are liberal. Some kids are conservative. And believe it or not, they join the military. And sometimes they don't agree on things. And sometimes they clash. And right now, maybe they throw their fist. Maybe they argue. Maybe they're disciplined for it. Maybe they're kicked out of the military. But Pete Hegseth just authorized them to carry guns everywhere. Pete Hegseth just allowed them to put guns in their barracks rooms. So when that kid's girl leaves him, instead of being able to take a gun and kill the boyfriend, or yell at him or send a nasty social media tweet, he can now take his gun. So I'm scared for our service members. I am. I don't say that lightly, guys, because I served for 22 years. I led troops. My command, when my first wife died, that command I mentioned earlier in this conversation, was in the barracks. I heard the arguments. I intervened myself, because in the end, our service members are under a lot of stress. Imagine what's happening right now, folks. We have service members being told they're going to deploy to a war zone. That's not even a war zone. They won't even call it a war zone. They're being told to deploy possibly to fight an enemy that's prepared for 47 years this fight. They're under great stress. They're under great duress. They're scared. They're nervous. Their emotions are running high. Their cup is full. And Pete Hegseth just gave those young men and women free access to firearms at any time. So I am scared that we're going to see a rash of suicides. I am scared we're going to see a rash of mass shootings on bases. I am scared for our service members. I'm very, very, very scared for our families. But all Pete Hegseth cares about is the guns. Folks, we have a problem. Pete Hegseth's got to go. Doug Collins has got to go. We have got to get control of this. And that's the final thing I'll say. The people who could stop this are cowards. The Republican Congress are such cowards. They won't even declare a war. They won't even hold a single hearing, not a hearing with the Secretary of Defense to discuss why we're sending our troops to war 5 weeks into it. The cowardice, I'm calling them right now. Every single Republican in the United States Congress is a coward, a spineless coward who cares more about their political careers and their own personal safety than those of our service members. And I don't want to hear a damn one ever say they love the troops. Ever. Because if you love the troops, you'd be in White House, you'd be in Washington right now, holding hearings asking why our troops are being sent into danger, why our troops are being sacrificed for Donald J. Trump. But they're not. They're cowering at home. They're doing photo ops at home. They're going on Codels to Scotland. Those cowards refuse to do their jobs. So the worst of everybody in this conversation, Pete Hegseth, Kid Rock, Donald Trump, the worst of all of them is the spineless worms serving the Republican Congress. I'm calling them out for their cowardice. Because if you knew your job, if you swore an oath to the Constitution, you'd be in Washington, D.C. holding hearings about why our service members are being treated like crap. But you don't. So I don't want to hear another Republican on TV saying how they love the troops and the Democrats hate them. I love my soldiers. I love my son who served. I love my son-in-law who served. I love my father, my grandfather, because my family sacrificed for this country. And the idea that these bastards won't even hold a hearing to discuss that sacrifice is disgusting. So you need to call them out, folks. You need to hold every single one of these cowardly Republicans accountable for their failure to act and do their damn jobs. We're throwing them out in November. Do everything in your power to help your Democratic candidates, because that's our only way to win this. I don't want to hear how both sides are saying, because damn it, we're not. There's Democrats that passed the PACT Act. It's Democrats that signed the PACT Act. It's Democrats that have stopped this ridiculousness. I don't want to hear that both sides are saying, because damn it, they're not. One of us believes in the Constitution. And it ain't the Republicans right now. So I'm calling them out. And you should too. Use your voice. If you learned anything last Saturday at No King's Day, your voices matter. That's why they're scared of us. They're scared because we peacefully protested across this country and people are paying attention. You had 9,000 people out a couple miles from my house on a road, busy road, deafening. It couldn't hold conversations because all the horns honking in favor of us. That's what they're scared of. We're going to run. We're going to win this November. We're going to take back this Congress. We're going to hold them accountable once and for all. Do it. I'm Fred Wellman. This is On Democracy FP Wellman. Got a little excited there, but you can tell how passionate I'm at because you know why, folks? My family has sacrificed for this country. Many families are sacrificing for our country, and they don't care. And you should care. So with that, it's great seeing you here with us every Friday night at 7 p.m. Eastern. I can't thank you enough for supporting us. Please go to our Substack, fpwellman.substack.com. That's fpwellman.substack.com. It is free to subscribe. Paid members actually help pay for all this, but I appreciate you being a free subscriber to keep up on all the work we're doing, including that other thing I'm doing right now, because I believe so passionately I am in the fight for you. Please join us here on the Midas Mighty to be part of that fight, because we're not done yet, folks. I'll see you next week.